GM, and welcome to the first Media Guild Storytelling for Hackathon Success. My name is Lukas. I'm a creator, advisor, and a proud super team Germany a member, and with me is Arikia.
Hello, hello. I am a journalist and media entrepreneur, technologist, and happy to be here talking to the hackathon hackers.
Nice, let's go. So since this is the first episode, or we called it episode 0 because this is the hackathon special edition, basically. Arikia, what's the Media Guild?
So the Media Guild focuses on how storytelling, messaging, and narrative design connect audiences with on-chain products and communities.
Okay, so we're basically here to help projects translate their creative energy into stories that help them build community and a movement around that, because we think this is super important and a lot of people should know about this.
It's all about the storytelling. It's the most important aspect of delivering anything in front of a crowd.
Yeah, so in the episodes we'll draw from the inspiration from current events like the ongoing Cypherpunk Hackathon, which we're gonna talk about in just a second. All across the Solana and Web3 ecosystem, we're gonna have a lot of different guests over the episodes. And yeah, let's start with that. The context of this episode is the Cypherpunk Hackathon that is coming to an end. We have the demo day in Berlin tomorrow at the W3 Hub. And because this is wrapping up, we're going to focus on the storytelling for builders and why that matters. And this is the first question that we want to go into. Why does storytelling matter?
Yeah, the final countdown is on. And yeah, I was just thinking, didn't we meet at the hackathon 1 year ago?
I think so. It was the first time that both of us met during I think it was the Radar hackathon, right?
Yeah. Wow, I
Yeah.
can't believe that was just 1 year ago. It seems like I've known the Solana family for my whole life.
Yeah, and a lot has happened since. We're going to talk about this in a second because you also won this hackathon, right? With Control X, your project.
I won the grand prize for the German local track.
That's amazing.
It was something that really put Control X on the map and gave us some credibility to take the next steps with development and get in front of investors. And so much has happened since that hackathon. So I'm excited to see what stories our hackathon builders this year are using to really inspire people about their creations, because there's a lot of tech out there. And the reason why people are building it is what pulls in the audience that's going to care. And you should care if you're building something. It should have some sort of personal connection to you. I remember like when I was going into the Founder Institute, which is a sort of like startup accelerator program for founders. There was an intro session where you could ask questions, and the interviewer asked us both. There was just one other guy in the session with me, and she asked, "Why do you want to have a company? Why do you want to be an entrepreneur?" And this guy was like, "'Cause I want to be rich."
Okay.
It's just like, wow, okay, like that's one reason, but I was so far away from my answer and my motivations for building my company. And I'm not really so sure if like being rich is the right one, because the chances are pretty slim that that's going to happen through the startup space. Although it's possible, there are the unicorns.
But let's be honest, that's not the majority. That's the minority.
Yeah, I don't even know what the stats look like, but whatever they are, it's still worth it to follow your personal why and just give it a shot and try and do the thing that you've been wanting to do. But what do you think, Lukas? What do you think about the narrative of the storytelling process and how like providing clarity there can impact the way the products and the build process is understood?
I mean, I think why is a great question. You just said that why do you want to do this? And getting rich is probably not the best answer, but answering that, if we think about the hackathon that is going on, why do you do this? And I think a lot of founders or builders right now are probably just focusing on how to get the tech ready to showcase something, while they should be probably focusing way more time on why they are doing this and presenting the why to the jury and the people that they want to convince that their product is actually changing something, because it is way more important for the jury and the people that should be using your product to understand why they should actually use it. It can be the greatest product, but if people don't get why they should actually try out your platform, your product, your dApp, whatever you're building, then there's definitely something lacking, and you probably won't get any users or win any prizes at the hackathon.
Yeah, I think it's also just for the sake of presenting, having that story that you really connect with is a way to draw in the audience, and it cultivates a sort of emotional response too when you're telling the story about something that actually matters to you. Versus I've seen a lot of people when they pitch, they just kind of will go through a list of business points that they memorized, and that can make it seem kind of like flat and dry. But as soon as they start talking about that personal connection, there's this like animatedness that comes through in the delivery of the speech. And I mean, it's nerve-wracking standing up on stage in front of a whole room full of people. I think at the Radar demo day, there were like 150 people in the room, it felt like.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's speaking in front of crowds is not something that comes naturally to everyone. It's like the minority of people, I think, right? Well, you're a performer, so you can speak to this.
Yeah, and I think people always think that if they're not used to this, this comes natural to some people. It might, but to be honest, most of it is just doing it over and over again and practicing it. So I think it's great that at the W3 Hub that we have the build station where actually pitch coaches are, and that you get the chance to actually rehearse this. And I think that's super important. I don't know how it was for you. You're doing talks in front of thousands of people now lately. So for me, it was just getting used to this. You're nervous most of the time, but you kind of get used to this. And for me, the nervousness at some point turned into excitement, if you know what I mean. So I would just see it as an opportunity to tell people about the thing that you believe will do something good, which is your product in that case. And if you go about it that way, then you probably have a good reason why people should use your product. How's it for you?
Yeah, I definitely agree. And I mean, in my case, my why is very personal and has to do with the majority of my early days in my career, in my 20s, and kind of like the way that I figured out that this problem was a problem was like it was a huge problem that impacted me personally and a lot of other journalists that I knew who were essentially having their work erased and lost forever. So that problem I can trace back to a very specific experience when I was reporting in an earthquake zone, and eventually like all that work was lost. And so I have a really dramatic why about but I didn't even go into all of that in the radar demo day pitch, because it's just a 5 or 6 minute
I think it's even shorter now. I think some of them are just like 3 minutes or so. I'm not sure how it is this time.
Okay, we need to get some clarification on that. Maybe someone from X can fill us in. Don't want to give out misinformation. But yeah, that time limit is also a really tricky thing you have to boil down your why. So I recently did a TEDx talk where I went into like the full story, and that was a 15-minute talk. But even that amount of time felt like too little to really tell the whole story. So really being able to distill the narrative down to those core elements: problem, solution, why now, that's going to help you move through the narrative arc. So I guess, I mean, coming from the journalism world and being a writer, narrative arcs are kind of second nature to me. But do you think this audience needs to know a little more about the narrative arc structure?
Yeah, that definitely makes sense. Hit us.
Yeah, I like to think of it as taking a thread. And so you have your whole story, you have your slide deck, and you have to take this thread and put it through each component of what you want to deliver, each piece of information. And the reader is basically like on that thread, cruising through the story with you. And what can happen sometimes is if there isn't a thread that goes through everything, the narrative can come off as disjointed, and then readers will, or listeners will get confused about what was said, where you're going, what your point is, and then their attention can start to fade. So it's really important to have that through line that's just pulling the listener along effortlessly, because they're hearing dozens of pitches. They have their phones with the whole internet of information distracting them, which hopefully they're not checking their phones the whole time. They're listening attentively.
But don't get distracted if they do, because it just happens sometimes.
Yeah, anything can happen in those rooms. People are just living their lives, and you just have to stay in your slides. But, making it as easy as possible for them to follow along with what you're saying is really going to get them to connect and identify with you. You want them to feel what you feel. You want them to care about what you care about, which is presumably what you're building and the company that could emerge out of it.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I don't know if that's actually a term, but I feel sometimes like there's this builder's pride, where you actually want to show the product and that the beta version is working great. But if you only have a couple of minutes worth of time, it definitely makes sense to go about it like you just explained, and maybe take the people on a journey why they should really care about your product, because it's way more important to make them understand what this product can do for them or for others, rather than showcasing maybe a nice feature that might be super important for the whole thing to work. But probably it would make more sense to tell them, why are you doing this? Why should they care? And build a narrative around that. And yeah, take them on a journey. I like that. Take them on a journey with you, and make them as excited as you are would be the best case, right? Because then you definitely have them on board if you get your excitement to them.
Yeah, definitely. And speaking about the tech demos, I've seen a lot of teams in my days of attending hackathons, which I've been going to since 2010. So I've had quite
Hackathon OG right here.
yeah. I've had quite a run with this because I used to work for Wired magazine, and so I was always invited to go to hackathons in New York City and be a judge and all of that before I started building and participating. But I've seen a lot of teams get caught up in tech demos where I know that exciting feeling when you've been trying to get something to finally work and then it does, and then you can put it on the screen and say like, this is real, we just built this. But sometimes it doesn't look so interesting to just see the code running, or if it doesn't have like a user interface associated with it, which it doesn't need that at this stage. And people might not expect that because they know how much time you've had to build. So if there's a way to quickly demonstrate
I'm not sure if we just lost Arikia. Okay, we're back, both online again. Where were we at, Arikia?
Yeah, thanks, Berlin Internet. I think I was just summarizing that the faster you can get through the demo to just make the point, illustrate what the capacity of what you built is and the potential, and then hop back on that narrative thread because you want to conclude with a high note where you're getting people excited about what's next and you're talking about your vision for the future, because the judges are often investors or people who they're not just looking about like if the if the thing that you've built is like technologically sound. They're interested in your potential to grow into a company that's investable and that's going to be around for the long term. So take them on that journey and show them what you got.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. And I think we've seen this for all the hackathon winners lately. I think no project won that just said, okay, that's it. We built this for the hackathon and now we're done. Basically, all the winners were people saying, we want to build this as perfect case would be a company. So like a real startup. This was just a kickstart to get started, like you did with Control X, right? It was just a step along the way and not the grand finale. Just, yeah, like some kind of kickoff, you could say.
Yeah, it really kicked off a lot. And I think we are going to talk about that a lot more in our next segment. But before we get to that, should we tell our audience what we have cooking?
Definitely. Because on the, don't let me lie, on the 12th of November, for all the Berliners out there, and I think we got a lot of them listening in, we're gonna have a vibe coding workshop. And you can scan the QR code that you can see right now on the top left. It should be the top left, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
There. Hit that one, then you can go to the Luma. And what can people expect?
Well, this isn't just any vibe coding workshop. This is Oasis, a tropical themed vibe coding workshop and build-a-thon that's putting the vibe in vibe coding.
I like that one. That's a
Yeah.
great tagline.
Yeah, I
And
mean, winters in Berlin are brutal, and we're just barreling straight into it. Like, I just saw a meme about how October is the situationship of months where it's nice for now, but you know the terrors are coming soon.
yeah. And you don't need to know anything. You can just come by and get into vibe coding. We have super team Germany member Alex Schmidt, who's gonna walk us through building production ready blockchain solutions. So that's super nice. And afterwards, you'll have some time to build to some nice vibes and music. And yeah, I think that's it. The Luma is here. Hit that, sign up. Looking forward to see as many of you as possible. Arikia and I will be hosting this with Alex Schmidt there, lots of super team members. And yeah, really looking forward to that one.
Yeah, it's a great way to continue building what you started working on at the hackathon, or just working on something totally new if you're not participating in this hackathon and want to just jump in and get involved with the builder community in Berlin, which is, yeah, I think one of the best in the world.
Yeah. And I think it makes sense, even if you did not build anything for this hackathon, but if you have a great idea in mind, then, and if you're not a coder, or if you're a coder, vibe coding might just be the solution for you to get an initial idea going. And yeah, maybe we can give you the tools for that to get better, faster results. So definitely swing by. That as a short preview of the Oasis vibe coding.
Can't wait. And we'll definitely have some tropical surprises for you there as well.
Nice. Okay, let's focus a little bit more on the hackathon lens. Let's put it like that, because you won at the hackathon. We just talked about that. And maybe you can go a little bit more into that, because most of the teams probably during the Cypherpunk Hackathon right now know this. Building, communicating under pressure. There's the deadlines are approaching. You need to submit different forms for the different tracks. You don't only submit for the main track, probably. You have some side tracks. I know that for the Radar Hackathon with our project back in the day, Viora, we won the creator local track. So it always makes sense, even if you don't win the big one, like Arikia did, to submit to all the different tracks, and therefore there's lots of pressure. So let's go a bit into that and maybe have some reflections from your side as, yeah, a big winner.
Yeah. Oh, I wish we had some musical interludes and could play Queen right now under pressure. Because I know all the builders are starting to feel it when it's like that 3-day crunch time countdown.
Mm-hmm.
Then the heat is really on. But I think that's also where some of the best building can happen and the best integration. And so, yeah, I mean, when I was doing the Radar Hackathon, I did not get a lot of sleep in those past few days before the demo day. And I was almost falling asleep in a beanbag, like right before I presented. Had to do some dragon breath techniques before I went on stage to just wake myself up. But I think understanding to, like not getting too overwhelmed is key, and just reminding yourself that this isn't the only chance that you're going to have to get your ideas out to the world and to have a stage. There are hackathons all the time, all over the world. And the more you get up there and talk about what you're doing, the easier it's going to be. So I think, first of all, the slides are really important. And yeah, I'd love to hear your perspectives on this too. But creating a deck where you can follow along mechanically with the points and that you've rehearsed it over and over again so that you know what's coming next. You don't have to read your own slides to remind yourself. They're just references in case you freeze. I mean, it's easy, especially with so many things going on in the room, so many people putting their attention on you, and you're noticing things about them. To be able to stay focused on what you're delivering is a big challenge, and yeah, a skill that you only hone by doing it over and over again. And so doing those practices, like once you think you've done as many rehearsals as you can do it one more time. That's what they always said in the journalism world back in the old days. They said once you think you've called all the sources you can call one more.
Yeah, but it's hard, right? Because maybe you or maybe you have a team and you're like, okay, but I can maybe ship this one feature that makes the product even better and ready for the presentation, and not fall into this rather than maybe use the last hours to actually go through your presentation over and over again. It's hard to do that, right?
Yeah, I can see how that would be a trap that a lot of teams would fall into. But I think presentation over functionality, because even if something isn't working perfectly by the time you go on stage, it's more about the intent to have it functioning at some point, because this is what you're getting up there for, right? Is to be able to get the idea across so that you can get resources eventually to begin building in a real scalable way to solve the problem. Like nobody expects you to have a fully deployable, security tested, like ready to go to market.
Ready to ship app. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think Patricia has been emphasizing this also a lot. It's good if you see progress after the demo day, for example. So it doesn't matter if you actually do this the last hours before the presentation or maybe on Monday after demo day, because that way the judges will see, okay, they're actually continuing to work on that. And yeah, maybe it's better to show a not so polished product or talk about it and not really demo it, rather than trying to make it perfect last minute. And I think what's really important, what you shared with us, is the personal touch. And I think that's super important for everyone you want to convince, is why you? Why are you the one that can actually do this? I mean, if it's a great idea, that's awesome. If the product works, that's awesome. But why are you the one that will be able to actually go through with this? Right. So I think that's a very important thing to also consider. And I think you did that, right? You told people why you are doing this.
Yeah, I think what you're touching on is the founder product fit, which is, some people say, more important than the product market fit, at least for this early pre-seed ideating stage. And I remember when I got on stage, I think this idea came to me like the day before demo day, where I opened by saying that I had a conversation with my academic advisor from college, who I still keep in touch with, and he reminded me that just because I hadn't been working as an engineer, because I studied engineering in college, but I've been working as a journalist. Just because I haven't been working as an engineer, it doesn't mean I haven't always been one. And so I think you just having that little message, that kind of like nostalgic thing about who I am. Like, it was a story that took 15 seconds out of the whole timeline to convey, but it gave some information about me, that I had this founder market fit because of the combination of engineering and journalism. But it told it in a way that they say, and the expression they use is like, you don't have to hit your readers over the head with it. It's not like an anvil or like, okay, understand this. You don't have to put it in bullet points. It can be something more subtle.
Mm-hmm.
Showing without telling. How do you get the information through to them, or they understand something about you without explicitly saying, I studied engineering in college and I worked as a journalist and haven't been able to work in the field of engineering? Like, that's a lot clunkier and takes a lot of time, and there's no kind of like narrative craft that way. So I saw the faces change when I told this anecdote, and because I went kind of at the end, I was one of the last presenters, which usually that's a disadvantage because at that point everyone's tired and hungry and hopefully not bored, hopefully still engaged. But I saw the people in the first rows kind of like perk up and look a little bit closer at me and open up their listening skills a bit more. So even having just one little anecdote about your life that connects you to what you're doing and to the audience is a great way to open before you just launch into the problem that is going to be scary for everyone.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense.
What was it for you? Because you also have been participating in some hackathons and took home some prizes.
Yeah, so we basically did the same. So for the Radar Hackathon, where we won the local creator track, we presented both Ali and me, and he basically took over the tech side and me the music side, because I have the music background. And I also opened similarly, why should I be the one focusing on that? And I don't know what I said exactly back then, but I also opened with something like when I worked with the bands when mixing music, because I also do that, then there's problems that happened all over again, and every band basically talked about that. I experienced it myself as a musician, so kind of tying that into the whole story arc of the product that you're presenting and why you should be the one trying to fix the problem that you see, but without telling them, okay, that's a problem, I'm gonna fix it, and not why.
Exactly. Like, another word for the problem is the pain. And when you experience the pain, you can convey that to an audience much better than if it's some abstract pain that's like somewhere happening on the other side of the city or country or world.
Yeah, definitely. Okay. Let's talk maybe about some guiding questions that people should ask themselves when telling a story about their project, what they're building, their protocol, whatever it is you're building right now. What might that be, apart from why? Of course, again, we should call this episode why.
We need that Backstreet Boys song too. Tell me why.
Yeah, we definitely need music for the next episodes. We need to figure this one out.
Yeah, we've got to integrate it.
But that's also a great improvement over the different episodes. Will get better and better, promised.
Yeah, episode 0. It's the pilot, and I hope that everyone in the audience is going to reach out and tell us what you think as well.
Yeah, so basically we're doing what we've been saying. Just start shipping, and then getting better along the way.
Yeah. We're shipping. Okay, so going back to the framework and principles and these guiding questions. So the big questions, which they kind of go along with, what is it, Guy Kawasaki's 8-slide pitch deck? But like a simmered down version. The problem, the solution, the mission, the vision, values, if that's something that's important to the why. And what did you mean by how to participate?
Looking at the notes, I'm not sure again what I meant by that.
Okay, sorry to call you out like that.
Again.
Oh, maybe like for the users, like how the users can get involved with what's next, and if there's like a sign up form or something, because investors love to see traction. That's like what it's all about in that pre-seed raise game, is traction. Yep. So anything that users can do to immediately get involved, whether it's like joining a Telegram group or a newsletter sign up or anything that they can turn into metrics and data points and then turn around and take to investors and say, look, all these people did this thing, must mean something.
Getting traction. Speaking of that, would you say there's a difference between because in the Web3 world, everyone is always shouting, building in public, we're building in public. We take everyone on board while we're doing this. Is this actually a thing? Would you say that makes sense? Does it sometimes not make sense to show everything, or does it not mean you have to show everything to the public what you're actually doing?
Ooh, that's a good question. I don't know. I really struggle with this one because when there is competition in the environment, then I think there's the tendency to kind of like guard what you're doing until it's shippable. But I always hear advice the other way of like, just put it out there. Like, no one's going to do it exactly like you would do it. So even if there are some competitors that want to kind of jump on your bandwagon, it doesn't matter. Just put it out there. I think for what I'm building right now with Control X and this token gated access system for journalistic content licensing, it's a little bit different. And I talked with Jess, who runs the Product Guild, a bit about this on a past episode.
Make sure to check it out.
Yeah, maybe we'll put a link on X to that episode.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was like a huge process of just making sure that everything was ready, because journalists as a group are like not so inclined to just pick up and leave whatever platform they've been using and like migrate somewhere else. So it's, you want to make sure all the infrastructure is there, that like the product is like complete enough, but that's what like the minimum viable product framework is for, which I think, especially for a hackathon, is really important to consider, is just like focusing on the MVP of what the smallest unit of what you're building really is, that you can get out the door in order to start onboarding users and getting that traction. And what do you think of that?
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. I mean, I think I'm convinced that if you're yourself and if you're authentic and using that to build and also use that in the communication, And we've seen this with a lot of successful products, protocols that started out just with the official accounts, but then started to actually put the founder first and have them be themselves and communicate out there. And I think that makes a lot of sense as long as you're authentic and not try to play a certain role, go into ChatGPT, Claude, and like, I want to post cool stuff about that. Let me know what I can post, but actually be yourself. Of course, use AI to enhance what you're doing. But I think as long as you're authentic and communicates from the heart, even though that sounds a bit poetic, but if that's how you do it, I think you can build in public to a certain amount and put it out there. Although it makes sense that I understand that you're afraid of someone else stealing maybe some of your features or ideas. So I think it's always this balance, but as long as you're yourself, there's always this unique point of only Arikia goes about this problem. And I think this is why it's so interesting for the jury, for example, in a hackathon to see what's your background, why are you doing this, and if they see why you're doing this and how you're doing this, I think this is why it's so important for them, because they see you really care about this. And this is how you went about it during the hackathon up until now. This is how you think you want to go about it that way. I think that tells a lot about you and also about the product.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think there is room for a bit of playfulness, because hackathons can also be a time when you might not know exactly what you want to do for the rest of your days. And even if the idea that you're working on in the hackathon is going to be like the company that you commit to, but if you can demonstrate that you can take an idea, even if it is something like kind of funny, and see it through the entrepreneurial arc from problem to solution, then there's also some benefit there, I think, where builders can really show off their building skills, even if it isn't like a one-to-one match. So, I mean, in my case, it was because the thing that I started building during the Radar Hackathon is the thing that I've been wanting to build for the 10 years in the past before I got to that place. So it was kind of like the big project. And I think that weight came through, like the gravity of the situation. But I've also seen plenty of builders that just kind of understand that something is a good idea, and maybe they're on the more technical side and just really equipped with solving that particular problem. And that's where the team dynamics come in. We haven't really touched on team.
Let's do that.
Yeah. Yeah, the team is so important. And I was lucky enough to have a wonderful teammate for the Radar Hackathon, Julie Yee. And we met at the Web3 Summit in Berlin just a few months before the Radar Hackathon opened. And it was kind of like a match made in heaven, because she had been kind of like around the startup scene in Germany for a while. She had built called Moonpage. CMS stands for Content Management System, by the way. And she had taken it into some pitch competitions, and then at some point decided no, CEO life wasn't for her. She just wanted to build and be in the code. And she had studied creative writing and then became an engineer, which was sort of like the reverse of what I did. I started in engineering and then became a writer or a journalist. I've always been a writer. But having that combination and like the energy that came from just meeting and being able to communicate really well, and then just kind of the way that we work together was also really complementary and with a similar energy level of like, let's push it through and get it done. But I think that combination was really special because I could then confidently pitch knowing that there was someone who was more technical than me and that had that like infrastructural full stack developer knowledge to carry this on into the future. And how was it with you when you pitched?
So basically the same. I think it's super important. You said complementary, and I think that's great if you have that in a team where one can maybe focus on more on the tech. It doesn't have to be 100%, right? It can just be he's more focusing on the tech, and you can actually focus on the pitch, for example, if you're two persons, right? And I think that makes a lot of sense. What's also important though is the vibes. Are the vibes good between you? Because if there's some, I know that word gets thrown around a lot, but if it's some kind of toxic, the one person rather wants to be the one standing there presenting the project, but actually is better at building the tech. And if that comes between you, even though you never speak about it, I think that's a big problem. Then that can hurt you, your project, and the whole mission to actually succeed with this. So I think in some kind of regards, you kind of have to let go of this pride, maybe. If you're better at something, then maybe openly talk about who can do what best, and yeah, then you can probably achieve more than if you're stubborn on focusing on one thing. So I think that's super important to maybe find someone that complements you and that you actually, like you just described, how it was for you in your team with Julie, I think, that it just clicked, right? And you had the great amount of focusing on tech, focusing on the presentation and all of that. Just the vibes were good. And I think that's super important.
And speaking of vibes, we're going to have a vibe coding workshop coming up on November 12th. And maybe we can pop that on it. The QR code is now in the, upper left. So go ahead and scan that code and please register. We do have limited space, but we are going to be happy to accommodate should the demand require. So we'll bring all the vibes there.
We just need you to come there. So yeah, make sure to scan that one. And also for everyone listening in now live, make sure to check out the Developers Guild that Carlo and Mike did about the different forums, because they actually go into detail on how to submit. So if you're interested in the technical stuff, make sure to check the Developers Guild. Either, I don't know where you're watching, either on YouTube or on X. It's both there, so make sure to check out that one as well if you need any advice on that. Arikia, I think we should sum this up. What's the takeaway from this episode?
I think that was a great reminder to lead into the closing segment, because you definitely do not want to leave the submission aspects until the very last minute, because you're using a new platform. Most likely there might be questions and things to do on there that are going to take a little bit longer than you initially anticipated, like recording a 3-minute submission video for Coliseum in Loom, which I had the wrong version installed on my computer. And so it took me like 5 hours to record a 3-minute Zoom or Loom before I figured that out. And it was like 4 a.m.
Oh gosh. Yeah, and then sometimes I know back when we submitted, there was a lot of tracking on the Colosseum page. So the forms didn't work quite as we expected them to work. So this can also bring a lot of pressure. So yeah, make sure to check this soon enough.
Yeah. And also just double check everything before you submit and make sure that you did actually get it in and that you looked at the time zones and did the calculation, because I think the official closing time on the Coliseum site is in Pacific time, or it was for the radar one anyway. So then it's figuring out when the time is.
Super early Friday morning for us in Europe, so be aware of that. So that's only a couple of hours after this one here is live. So yeah, make sure to go there directly if you haven't done so.
Yeah, and then on the narrative front, make sure you are leading with an impact. So you want to be able to capture attention straight away. It's the same as writing an article. The first line of the article is the most important one, because that determines what percentage of people are going to read the next line. And then those two combined together determine who's going to read the entire article. So you want people to immediately listen and think to themselves, I want to hear how this goes from start to finish, not like kind of snoring into it and think like, oh, I don't know about this one, I'm not going to pay attention. You want them to pay attention. That's the way.
Yeah, especially these days. We know that the attention span from everyone is like this. Think of it not as much, but nearly. If you scroll through your feed, through TikTok, Instagram, whatever, the first seconds either catch you or not. So make sure to catch your audience in the first couple of seconds. Then you can go into detail, but make sure the audience is really interested in what you're going to tell them, because they will see a lot of pitches this day.
A lot. But yours is going to be amazing. And I know you're going to take all of our advice to heart, follow those narrative threads, and captivate some new users and potentially investors. So yeah, on that note,
fingers crossed for everyone that is submitting, and get clear on the why. I think we extended a lot on that. Yeah, we wish you a lot of luck. You will do great presentations. And that being said, thank you so much for checking out the Media Guild.
Thanks, everyone. Hope to see you at the next episode of the Media Guild. Feel free to send us your suggestions, recommendations. Reach out if you want to be a guest on a future episode. And good luck at the hackathon.